where some agents fail, and tell me if you agree with this, right? I've seen a lot of agents, including myself when I started, that I made the lead investment, but I didn't have the discipline to sit my butt in that seat and dial my face off to get what I needed.
Yeah.
And now we're burning money, right? And so people are like, and then what do?
The leads didn't work, man.
Jamie, these leads suck. No, the leads don't suck. I sucked.
I'm like, what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? Live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given as a gift. If I'm a living, I'ma live it to death. So what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? And live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given as a gift. If I'm a living, I'ma live it to death. Yeah.
What's going on, guys? Jamie Chirio here, sitting with Julius Gilgur, fellow Hall of Fame producer. Excited to be here for next episode of the Road to Hall of Fame podcast. So, Julius, we've obviously been having these Road to Hall of Fame trainings that are happening all over the country, that focus really being helping the new agent understand that it is possible for you to be able to help 400 families in a year. And we've been doing these episodes now for, quite a few weeks, and we've got to interview just countless Hall of Fame producers all across the company. And we really touch on a handful of different things. We really touch on the mindset of what it takes for somebody to hit Hall of Fame. What's the difference between somebody who's brand new and somebody who's a Hall of Fame producer? We talk about dial tips for dialing the phone and really what does that dial day look like? How do you set yourself up for success? And give people real word tracks and in-home strategies of a Hall of Fame producer. And then we take a little Q&A from some agents at the end. So I'm excited to have you here, man. And I'd love for you to just share with us your background, how long you've been here, and just what that journey's been like so far.
Yeah. So first off, Jamie, thanks for having me on, man. It's a privilege and an honor to be sitting here side by side as co-Hall of Famers, right? So great job to you last year. Congrats on your red jacket. And yeah, I mean, jumping right in, right? Hall of Fame, anybody can do it, right? Did I believe I can do it when I started? No. Let me take that back. I believed I can do it, but I was fearful of like what it actually took, the activity, and there was a bit of doubt, right? So how do you have doubt and belief at the same time? Well, it's something new, right? So when it's something new, it's like, all right, what is it going to take to actually get there? And I think for me, it was not that easy. And I think for most people, it's not that easy, right? And, there are some people that come in and they just hit it out of the park when they start. That wasn't my journey, right? My story wasn't that.
Dude, this is the hardest thing I ever did. And I mean, you're about to finish up 75 hard. That's a whole another level. I look at, Hall of Fame is like 75 hard over the course of 12 months in insurance sales, and you got 75 days of working out twice a day, no cheat meals. That's Hall of Fame's a consistency goal. It's not a crazy skill set goal. Yeah,
and it's funny that you mentioned that, because that really is the key of unlocking Hall of Fame, right? It's not doing it for a week. It's not doing it for a month. It's not doing it for 3 months. It's, can you be consistent over the course of a year to sit your butt in a seat, dial the phone at least 2 days a week, right? And I'm talking full days, not 4-hour days, not 6-hour days, like full days, get the job done, and go see all these families and put everything else aside to make this a priority, right? And when you do that, magic really starts to happen, man. So for me, it wasn't that easy of a journey. My first 6 months, I didn't even break. I don't think it was 6 months. I think it was 5 months. I didn't even break in this business, right? Coming from experience at another company, selling IULs, selling annuities, and then coming over here and doing simplified issue insurance, I'm like, oh, this should be a no-brainer. But for whatever reason, it wasn't. Yeah. And, and we can go through some of that.
So how long have you actually been here with Family First Life?
A little over 3.5 years.
3.5 years.
Yeah.
And how long were you in the financial services world before Family First Life?
A year and a half.
Year and a half. Okay. And when you transitioned from that business to this business, what were kind of the major differences that you saw between that and Family First Life?
Well, there was a lot. So we were and I'll talk about producing because this is more of a producing podcast, right? So on the production side, at the old company, at my practice company, we were, first off, the appointment. This is interesting. So the appointment was generated from, if I hired you and you're a trainee in the business, I just recruited you, not hired, I recruited you. I need you to make a list of 20 people and I'm going to teach you how to do this business, Jamie. Okay. So now we're going to call your friends and family to do a training appointment. And then I'm going to be the trainer to train you how to do this business. And we're going to go sit down with your family. Let's call it your mom and dad. I'm going to train you and actually do a pitch to your parents. But then, hey, if they decide to buy insurance, hey, Jamie, I'm sorry, you're not going to get paid on this deal, buddy. This is your training appointment. This is your cost of learning how to do this business. That was my appointment. Okay. So think about that, right? So number one,
it shouldn't even be allowed.
No, that's messed up, dude. My good friend who's now part of the business, Matt Seibert, his first sale with me was my parents. Right? So I'm like, wait, he sold my parents. I didn't even sell my parents. Like, what is going on here? And they still have their policy on the books. I mean, he did a great job. Don't get me wrong. But the point of what I'm saying is it's a much more difficult approach because I'm going in and the client is thinking it's just a training appointment. But the reality is I'm opening their mind. I'm educating them on financial services with the intent of actually selling them insurance. So it's kind of a back end approach, right? So that's what that was like. So number one, you're reliant on recruiting and you're reliant on the recruit to actually set enough appointments with their friends and family for you to actually generate income on a consistent basis. So what's the challenge? The challenge is you don't have enough appointments. The challenge is you're actually having to create interest. So the skill set to actually make that sale is so much higher, Jamie, because you didn't tell me you were interested in life insurance when I came over, did you?
No.
But I'm trying to make you interested before I leave.
So let's just imagine your previous company, they had Hall of Fame and it was 400 families in a year. How difficult with that model would it have been to help 400 families in a year? And how hard would you have had to work?
Oh my God. Like, I don't think anyone hit it. And if they did, it was mainly because they wrote huge premiums, right? Like huge policies, right? So, but quantity wise, it's almost impossible because we don't have enough people to sit with, enough time in the day. Our presentation, first off, the presentation was a 2-sit appointment, a 2-sit sale, right? So I didn't sit down with you, pitch it, sell you right there and then. I pitched it, I'm going to do a financial needs analysis, come back with a plan a week later to possibly close you, right? So I was only sitting with 8 to 10 families a week.
Wow. And we're sitting with 4 times that when you're on a Hall of Fame run here. And that's 100% because of the abundance of leads that we have, people who are raising their hand talking about how they need insurance. And our job's just to go and facilitate that request. And I think it's just important kind of as we transition into kind of mindset of a Hall of Fame producer. I mean, leads, that's such an easy way to shift your mindset to, I'm here to help this family that has asked for my help. What has just that mindset shift of having consistent lead flow done for you? And, what would you say to somebody who's on this road to Hall of Fame, how seriously they should take lead purchasing and just working those leads?
That's the sauce, dude. That's the sauce. Like, there's no other way about it. We aren't the sauce. The leads are the sauce. I'm going to be real with you because without leads, dude, I would be doing the same thing. Right? Without leads, you would have to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. So the answer to that is that's everything. And that is how I got on a Hall of Fame run, is because I got uncomfortable, guys. I got uncomfortable with lead purchases. When I made my first real lead purchase, right? When I say real, like when I started, Jamie, I started with a $400 lead investment. That's not a real lead investment, right? If someone says that to us now, we're gonna be like, dude, that's not enough. Now, when I was starting, the conversation was just a little different, whatever. But when I made my first lead investment, that was a game changer because I was able to help more families. But then, too, I started to diversify my leads. So if you're on a Hall of Fame run, your goal is to go to Hall of Fame. We were in a Hall of Fame event yesterday here in Phoenix. Great event. Dude, you crushed it, by the way. So
appreciate that.
Thank you. I took a lot of notes. And that's the thing. Sometimes you're a teacher. Sometimes you're a student, right? Like I took notes from you, right? I'm sure, a lot of people did the same thing from different speakers, but the point of what I'm trying to make here, guys, is it's not only quantity, it's also diversification when it comes to leads, because you need to set up a good lead strategy. You have to, right? Like, you can't by chance hit Hall of Fame. You didn't by chance hit Hall of Fame, bro.
I decided I was.
You decided and you took action and you made a plan. Mm-hmm. right? That's what it takes, right? So I decided, I made a plan and I took action, right? So lead purchases, lead investments, and the formula is you're going to have to invest $1,500 to $2,000 a week in leads. Any lead volume, that's the sauce.
And kind of what I've noticed, and I mentioned this yesterday at the Road to Hall of Fame event, it doesn't really matter what kind of leads it is, guys. When you spend about $1,000, what I've noticed my goal on that type of lead purchases is I want to book at least 10 appointments at minimum, okay? So whether it's direct mail, Facebook final expense, internet leads, old final expense, old mortgage, when I spend $1,000 on leads, my goal is to book a minimum of 10, and really my real goal is to get 15. So if you break it down and I get, let's say, 15 direct mail leads, that's going to be about $1,000. So 15 direct mail leads, I'm probably going to book about 10 appointments on direct mail leads, just the intent's high. It's a higher cost lead. If I have 40 Facebook final expense leads, about $25 a piece, $1,000, I'm going to book 10 at minimum, and my goal is to get to 15. If I have 100 internet leads, I'm going to book 10. My goal is to get to 15, $1,000. If I have 200 1 months or 300 3 months, I'm probably going to book 10 or 15.
Yeah.
So it's just understanding that a Hall of Fame for me, I think I said I'm going to spend $1,000 per dial day. That was my goal, and that's uncomfortable for people in the beginning. There's ways that you can increase your ROI, buying older leads. But they talk about this, I remember one of my first videos in boot camp, Grady talked about the time money pendulum. And it's like when you first get started here, you have a lot of time, but not a lot of money. Correct. And as you get going here and you start consistently writing business, you have more funds to be able to shorten the time that you spend on dial day, buying some higher intent leads, different lead diversification, more exclusive leads. Any leads will work, but the older the lead, the longer your dial day. Yeah. That's what it's going to be at the end of the day. So as long as you're willing to put in the work on the dial day to take those leads, convert them to 10 to 15 appointments on a dial day, and then do that over 2 dial days to get yourself between 25 and 35 appointments in a week, that's the formula. Wouldn't you agree?
100%. And dude, I think the thing where some agents fail, and tell me if you agree with this, right? I've seen a lot of agents, including myself when I started, that I made the lead investment, but I didn't have the discipline to sit my butt in that seat and dial my face off to get what I needed.
Yeah.
And now we're burning money, right? And so people are like, and then what do?
The leads didn't work, man.
Jamie, these leads suck. No, the leads don't suck. I sucked.
You didn't work. Yeah. I saw John Wetmore posted, did you dial all day or did you take all day to dial?
Yes.
I thought that was so powerful. Did you dial all day or did you take all day to dial? Did you wake up at 8 instead of been dialing at 8? And then you decided to cook breakfast, go to the gym. Now it's 11. You haven't even logged into the CRM, and you've logged into the CRM. The leads are picked over because everyone else was up at 3 in the morning buying leads or the night before. And now you're uploading it to Phone Burner. Now it's noon. You just got started. And now I dial from noon to 3, and then I get hungry, so I go downstairs and I make myself a snack, and then I see my wife downstairs. She's like, hey, can you do the dishes real quick? Now it's 5:30. I've got 3 appointments, and I'm freaking out. Yep. I'm like, I don't have enough appointments. Is it even worth me going out in the field tomorrow? What am I going to do? And now I start dialing from a point of desperation. Now my tone, my pitch, everything on the phone, my pace, it changes. Now we talk about commission breath in the home. They can smell the desperation breath all the way through the phone. Oh my God. Now I'm not booking the appointments that I should be booking because everything changed because I'm dialing from a point of desperation. Another thing I heard, another top producer, agency manager, Zach Tardowski, said the only thing I hate more than dialing is dialing at 8 o'clock at night and not having enough appointments. Yeah. It's just because you're in a place of desperation. You've probably been there. You've had days where you didn't discipline yourself on dial day and you paid for it dialing into the late night. And then you paid for it the next day when you didn't have enough appointments, and you paid for it when you decided to go discipline yourself by door knocking. Yeah. And I hate door knocking. Door knocking's such a powerful thing to do. But I always told myself, I'm going to fill in all of the gaps in my schedule through dialing so I never have to force myself to door knock. Door knocking is definitely a huge part of Hall of Fame, but I wanted to make sure that my schedule was filled top to bottom because I was willing to be disciplined on the phone early in the day.
yeah, I didn't really door knock much, man. I had took the same mindset as you because I thought to myself, time is money. Mm-hmm. And how long does it take for me to drive to a house to see if they're home when I can pick up the phone and make 30 dials and potentially contact 30 people in that same 30-minute span. Yeah. Whatever, right? So to me, you have a better use of time actually dialing, getting good at the number one skill that will pay you here versus showing up at their door. Nothing wrong with door knocking. I think it's definitely necessary, and you mix it in. Don't knock it, but if you get good at dialing, you're not going to need to door knock.
And I just want to disclaim here. There are some people here who they door knock and they crush it.
Yeah.
I talked to Steve Giordano on one of our previous episodes here. If anybody watched it, you remember. He said, Steve, aren't you like a little bit above door knocking? You're the number one producer in the company. He said, that's why I'm the number one producer in the company, because I'm not above door knocking. Yeah. And that was powerful. So all of it works. The goal is to get in front of people. So let's kind of transition here into more mindset, because this business, as you know, it's an emotional and financial roller coaster with a lot of twists and turns. And, if we're talking about the road to Hall of Fame, if I'm driving from point A to point B being 400 families at the end of the year, there's some times when your tires pop. There's some times when your oil's low and the engine starts smoking a little bit and you got to pull off for an oil change. And, there's some times where you get a little bit down in the dumps and you got to smack yourself in the face and keep going. For you, when you ever had a bad day, whenever you had a day where you just felt you got kicked in the stomach in the field, I booked 17 appointments, but I just got crushed. What is some advice that you'd give to somebody? Because obviously you've been there. I think failure is super relatable. We've all had bad weeks, but Hall of Fame producers, they don't have bad months because they understand how to get out of the downs quicker. They don't spend as much time there. So what do you do to kind of, when you get in that lower energy because you had a bad day, bad week, what do you do to snap yourself out of it?
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of new agents struggle too, right? Is they get so high and then they get so low, but their lows drag them down. And I heard Sean Mike say, you don't want to get emotional in this business. You want to take emotion out of your business. Don't get too high, too low. But sometimes you just can't control that. You know what I mean? And I'll tell you a story, Jamie, when probably in my first, I think it was around 90 days, maybe 120 days, right? My first few months in the business, I had a weekend where I set, I think it was like 17 appointments. Mm-hmm. Dude, I went 0 for 17, right?
I've had that exact weekend many times.
I call it being on suicide watch. That's what I call it. I know it. Hey, no pun intended, but I was really low, right? Yep. Like, I'm not making fun of that. That's obviously a sensitive topic, but that's just, a term I use.
You were in the doom loop.
Yeah. So I remember recording a video, posting it in the Facebook group, talking about my experience, right? Like, just even my video, my tone, I don't know if you saw it, but it was just like very down. So I say that because the very next Monday, I come right back at it.
How many families you help?
I ended up helping that week. I still ended up helping 11 families, right? So the very next Monday, I went back to work. I set another, I think it was like 13 appointments. I didn't have as great of a dial day, but I ended up helping a ton of families. And I'm like, what just happened?
The field owed you.
The field owed me, right? So what did I do? To kind of go back to your question, is every day is a new day, dude. Every day you can clean slate it. Every day you don't have to take what happened yesterday and bring it into today. And, dude, I'm not magic, man. I work, right? The one thing about me is I'm always going to work. I'm always going to show up, and there's going to be good days. There's going to be bad days. And I understand that. That's life. That's not just business. That's life, right? And so how do I just not wear it on my sleeve and just keep moving? Is I just keep moving. Yeah. Like that's all I did, is I just kept moving. I just kept working. And the other thing I would say is this: I would listen to positive affirmation videos. So I go on YouTube and type motivational video. I know it sounds corny. I know it sounds cheesy. They're usually like 10, 15 minutes long. But dude, I tell you, the stuff that they say, it just like programs your mind. It'll trigger some stuff. You're like, you're right. Yes. It like reinstills belief, reinstills confidence, and those little things, it made a difference for me, man. Like, just because this does get lonely sometimes.
Yeah. I'm imagining you driving around with Eric Thomas. Do you want to succeed as
Yeah.
bad as you want to breathe?
I'm yelling in the car like, let's go, bro. Let's go. Yeah, that's totally it.
That's awesome, man. So we talked about leads. We talked a little bit about mindset. Dialing is it's the way to success in this business. You can't get to a point where you help 400 families in a year if you can't discipline yourself enough to sit down on the chair and dial the phone. So let's get into some more practical things that you maybe do when you're dialing the phone. Maybe how do you set up yourself for a successful dial day? What are some things and some disciplines and structure that you put in place to make sure that you can hold yourself accountable to actually do the work? And then let's maybe transition into maybe a quick run through of a basic phone script.
Yeah, I think for me, what I had to do was I had to actually create a schedule, meaning I didn't have a schedule when I started. And just like you said, one minute I'm washing the dishes, 1 minute I'm at the gym, I'm having lunch, breakfast, whatever. So I remember Mark Mead saying this is you have to protect your dial day, right? So if you're going to be a Hall of Fame producer, that's your goal. You've made a decision. Part of your plan has to be protecting your dial day. So Monday, that means you start no later than 8. And typically I would start at 7:30 because 7:30 to 8 is like a golden 30 minutes I found. People are up, they're on their way to work, they answer their phones, it's golden. So start at 7:30, no later than 8. And then I would treat it like a job, dude. Like I worked from the morning till lunch, right? I worked till 12 o'clock. I went and had lunch. I'd watch trainings while I'm having lunch. So it's not a full disconnect. I stayed locked in and then I got back on the phones. And then here's the other thing, anything that was always scheduled or friends that would hit me up or family, if it was on a dial day, I always say no, right? Hey, you want to come to dinner? It's at 7 o'clock on a Thursday or it's 7 o'clock on a Friday. Hey, my daughter has, an event. No, I can't do that, right? Because my priority was, I know I need to dial and set this up for the next few days. Otherwise, my next few days are not going to be successful. So protecting your schedule is huge, but it's treating it, I scheduled myself for 8 hours, but I also knew if I didn't get the job done in 8 hours, I'm willing to work as long as it takes to hit my appointments. And that's the key, guys. It's not just protecting your dial day, but are you willing to work till the job's done? And in the beginning, I didn't. I got my 200 dials in, Jamie, I'm done. And I had 6 appointments.
Dials and only turned into 6 appointments. That's all that's in the cards today.
Yeah, sorry, man. I'll do better tomorrow. No, I didn't do that. Well, I did when I started.
I can't tell you how many times when I got started, I did the exact same thing. And then something just like switched in my mind. And I said, I'm not going to do that anymore. And there's 250 boxes on a dial tracker. I can't tell you how many times I drew an additional 500 boxes and my entire sheet's just covered in check marks. And, I got 750 dials on this thing because that's what it took.
Yeah. Well, when we started, I didn't have phone burner and all these other tools.
Yeah. So now 750 dials doing a hand dial, you're looking at a 12, 13-hour dial day. And what's crazy,
if not more.
Yeah, if not more. What's crazy about what we have with phone burner is, I remember I worked my butt off dialing as fast as possible. I'm probably dialing, 30, 40 times in an hour if I'm no distraction whatsoever. And now with phone burner, I can dial 120, 130 times in an hour. Quick, next, and triple dial as fast as the speed of light seems like. So to be able to get 750 dials in 5 hours, 6 hours, rather than 13 hours, and that makes a big difference.
Huge.
That's awesome, man. Let's just have you run through basic phone script.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things I noticed, there was one time that specifically I remember you jumped onto live dials when I was first starting to live dial, and you just hopped on and you just booked appointment after appointment after appointment. The thing that I took away from that was just how direct you were, and just we talk about monotone, we talk about all these different things, uninterested, but he wasn't boring by any means. He wasn't half dead, he wasn't half asleep. He was direct. Mary, I'm coming over. So obviously a little more tactful with his phone script than that, but that was the mindset, and the thing that I took is just he was more sure than they were. Whoever's more sure in sales is the one who's going to win. And our job's not to win by any means in this, but he's like, I'm sure that you need this, that you filled this out. I'm going to come help your family. See you at 5. So that's just something I noticed right away was just the posture that you had on the phone. So anything you want to touch on in things that you do with your phone script?
I keep it super simple, man. Like when I started, I wanted to be 100% scripted, And what I failed to do, guys, was be personable and be real and just have a conversation, right? But I am very direct. I've over the years simplified it and shortened it because that worked well for me. I used to do all this other stuff in the beginning that didn't add value, but what I realized where I was going wrong was all these other questions that I was asking, like, hey, do you have any medical conditions? Hey, do you, there were stuff that I could find out in the appointment that I didn't need to do on the phone, right? They would tell me something and I would be reactive, right? And the reason I was reactive to my client is because I didn't master my objections. I didn't master my process. I didn't master my words. I didn't become a master of the phone. And because I wasn't a master of the phone, I just reacted, right? I was very, and when you're reactive, you have to create a process and a system in everything you do, including dials, right? So they say this, you say that. They say this, and it's the same thing all the time, and you almost become systematic. I don't want to say the word robotic because you don't want to be robotic. You want to be systematic. I have a process, and every time this happens, here's my system, right? And once I did that, it all started to change, and now I can have the posture and conviction that you heard. But I didn't have that when I started, man. I did what most agents did. Oh, I already have this taken care of. Okay, who's that with, right? Or, oh, how much coverage do you have? What if I can beat it? Like, I would do stuff like that we don't do now, right? Yeah. Because that's not what Hall of Fame producers do, right? Yeah. So
tell me what a Hall of Fame producer would say. So I'm going to be a final expense lead.
Perfect. And there's one script.
Yes.
Like, for the record, right? It's like, hey, what script do I use? Jamie, what script do you use?
I tell them I'm coming over, and I tell them who I am. So let's break it down in this way. Every single script follows the same principles.
Yes.
Specific word tracks. Where I got caught up and I had a really hard time, I was reading Andrew Taylor's phone script, and there was a spot where it felt like it was a little bit wordy for me, and I was getting tongue-tied. Yeah. I was like tripping over my tongue, and I was like, I can't do that. I was like, okay, I'm going to put this into my words, but I'm going to make sure the principles still remain. So what are those principles? Who you are, why you're calling. Let me confirm a piece of information. Once I go ahead and confirm a piece of information, hey, wanted to confirm why it is you were looking for this. Hey, let's talk about how this is going to work, what the process is going to be, what it's going to look like next. Okay, now I'm going to clear your schedule, book the appointment, tie it down. Every single schedule follows those exact same things. So whether you hear the specific word track or joke that I use to try to reduce sales pressure, maybe Julius has something different than he does, and we'll hear it here in a second. No matter whose phone script you hear, Sean's, Andrew's, Paul's, Grady's, Julius, mine, it doesn't matter. They follow those same principles, and some people do it they do all 6 or 7 of those principles in 90 seconds, and some people like me do it in 4 minutes. Yeah. You know, so let's just go through it.
Cool. Ring, ring.
Hello.
Jamie.
Yeah, this is Jamie.
Hey, Jamie, this is Julius getting back to you from the Benefits Center about the form that you filled out and sent to our office. I'm just the underwriter assigned to get this information to you. Let me verify what you put down here first. Looks like your date of birth is March 1st, 1960. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, cool. Looks like you put down your address here, man. It's 123 Main Street. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Cool. And you also put down you're a non-smoker.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Like I said, man, my job is I'm a local field underwriter. My job is to verify. My job is to verify this. Wow, completely got tongue tied.
That's okay, bro.
Hey, guys, even Hall of Fame producers get tongue tied.
My job is to verify.
My job is to verify the information that you sent in, eligibility, as well to see what you're eligible for. Explain the different programs that you might be eligible for and show those options to you, okay? Now, all these programs are non-medical. Simply means you don't have to give any blood, urine, anything like that. I just got to verify you are who you say you are. You're not chained to like a hospital bed. Make sense?
Yeah, dude, that's definitely not me.
Okay. I didn't think so. Now, are you married or single?
I'm married.
Married, okay. Now, you guys working, retired?
Retired.
Okay. They have me actually dispatched in your area tomorrow and the day after. I'm super busy, Jamie, normally meeting with about 10, 15 families each day. Now, do you guys have any appointments tomorrow or the day after?
Yeah, I think we have a doctor's appointment tomorrow afternoon.
Tomorrow afternoon? What time do you think that is?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, okay. Let me look at my calendar here. Looks like I have some availability in the morning that I can squeeze you guys in. Does 10 or 11 a.m. work?
11 should work.
11 should work, and your wife will be there as well?
Yeah, she'll be there.
Okay, cool. Do me a favor. Grab a pen and paper real quick. I'm going to give you some information to jot down.
Okay, got it.
Awesome. First, go ahead and write down my name. My name is Julius.
Okay.
Last name's Gilgur. Your appointment code is AJ56. The purpose of that is so you know it's me when I get there, and I'm not some crazy person. Okay. I'm also going to give you my license number. It's 123456. You can look me up. I'll bring that with me so you can validate my credentials that I'm a state licensed agent. Now, when I park, can I park on the driveway or you want me to park on the side of the street?
Street.
Street? Okay. Is this a house or is it like a unit condo?
It's condo.
Condo. Okay. Any gates or anything like that to get to your door?
Yeah, there's a gate code.
Gate code? What's the gate code, man?
1234.
1, 2, 3, 4. And then when I pull in, do I pull in to the right, to the left to get to your place?
Go to the right. There's some guest parking.
Okay. Park in the guest parking. Okay. I'm just making some notes here. Okay. Perfect. All right. And then go ahead and write down tomorrow at, we said 11 a.m., right?
Yes.
Okay. So write down tomorrow, March 18th, 19th, 11 a.m.
Got it.
Got it. All right, man. So I got you all set up. Do me a favor. What's your wife's name?
Katie.
Katie. Can you let Katie know that I'll be swinging by tomorrow at 11? Take us about 10, 15 minutes to roll through this?
Yeah, I'll let her know.
Okay. Barring any emergency, any reason why you wouldn't be there tomorrow?
We'll be there.
We'll be there. Okay, cool. Well, hey, man, I look forward to meeting and helping you out, and I'll see you tomorrow right around 11.
Perfect. Guys, if you break that down, literally went through every single one of those points. We confirmed who he was, why he was calling. He confirmed a few pieces of information, birthday, address. He, went through, made sure that I obviously, filled this out. I wanted the insurance. We went through and he cleared my schedule. He booked the appointment. He tied it down, and he was super unemotional through the entire thing. Now let's back up and we'll say, and hey, what was this about again?
This was about the form you filled out for the final expense and burial coverage. This is the one that you put down your date of birth as March 1st, 1950.
Yep, I did put that as my date of birth, but I don't know if I remember filling this out.
Yeah, I get it. I don't even remember what I have for breakfast normally. Looks like you also put your address here as 123 Main Street. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome.
Guys, just you minimize things. You just kind of smack them down and ask a question. And we talk about the 3 A's, which are acknowledge. The 3 A's. I trained on this yesterday.
See, we get to
acknowledge, answer, and ask. Okay, acknowledge, answer, and ask. So acknowledge, hey, perfect, that's exactly why I'm calling. Answer the objection, overcome it, and then ask a question. So it can be really simple as, hey, I get it. We acknowledge. I don't even remember what I had for breakfast. Answer. And I got your date of birth here is 8/15/93. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, I actually already had an agent come out and take care of that policy.
Perfect. Well, my job is just to get you the information you requested. And if you have some coverage in place, that's great. Go ahead and have that out. I just need to verify what you have so we can make sure you could stop getting these phone calls and close your file. I have your address as 123 Main Street. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
So there you go again. 3 A's. Perfect. He acknowledged that I had an objection. Yep. It's great that you have coverage. That's awesome. Really glad that you do. Most people we talk to already have coverage. I just need to verify it, make sure you have it out. Okay, and I got your address as 123 Main Street? Yes. 3 A's. And I think it's important just to know that if you can master those 3 A's, that is the key to learning how to get good on the phones. It's not having the perfect phone script. It's no matter what you say, I unemotionally acknowledge, answer, and ask and retake control.
When I did that, man, that unlocked everything, to be honest with you, because I noticed I wasn't booking enough appointments. And the reason why was my objections were weak. I was all over the place, guys, all over the place.
It makes me think, if you guys have ever seen Glenn Ross, the Coffees for Closers, he's like, the leads are weak. No, your objections are weak.
Yeah. It is what it is. That's what I sucked, right? And so that when I talked about being systematic on the phones, that's what I was really referring to is the script, keep it simple, keep it the same, but also every time they say something, it doesn't matter the words that I say, it's the systematic approach. Acknowledge, answer, ask a question. And that's how you get back to the script, because all you're trying to do is book an appointment.
Absolutely. So that's it, guys. The phones, I mean, it's the way to Hall of Fame. It's everything that you need. So now we've booked a bunch of appointments. Now we've gotten to a point where we've committed to getting good on the phones. And guys, the way you commit to get getting good on the phones is just by doing it over and over and over and over again. You learn in two different ways. You learn from repetition or emotional impact. And a lot of the times in the home, I learn from emotional impact because it's like I get that big objection and I leave the home and I'm so upset that I didn't close it. And then I'm like, I'm never going to get caught on that one again. But then repetition, I do it over and over and over and over and over again, and it just becomes second nature. So let's kind of move into the home. Hall of Fame producers know how to set the table.
Yep.
Hall of Fame producers, they don't sit on the couch. They don't. I mean, I've written plenty of policies on the hoods of people's cars. I've gotten it done in the wind with papers blowing everywhere with my hands about to fall off in the freezing weather. Hall of Fame producers can write a policy anywhere. Let me just disclaim that.
Fair.
I can write a policy in a tornado. But at the end of the day, I would love to, but pretty much high winds, gusts. I've been outside in the snow.
Yeah, I've done some of that.
I've done some crazy stuff in 110-degree weather, but in a perfect scenario, a Hall of Fame producer walks them to the dinner table.
Yeah, 100%. I had one funny story with I was doing a road trip in Washington, freezing outside, dude. Like I'm talking like 10 degrees. I mean, to me, living in Arizona, it's like 20 times worse, right?
Yeah.
And she comes down, and I was with a trainee, and the trainee actually booked this appointment with her weeks ago. He no-showed her like a few times, so somehow I got her back in. And she wouldn't let me in. We sat on her front stoop. Thank you. I couldn't think of the words. Her front stoop on the bend, like on the steps, sitting there writing a policy. And she was like, he's like, I don't know how you did that, but we just wrote a policy. I'm like, well, it doesn't matter where, just let's do it. But yes, ideally in the home, kitchen table, 95%, 99% of our business is done there. Yeah.
So walk me to the table, knock on the door, and tell me what that looks like.
All right. Hello, Jamie.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. I'm here for our appointment. Where's your kitchen table, man?
It's in the kitchen.
All right. Show me the way.
All right. Perfect. Love it.
I let them lead, and then as they're leading to the kitchen table, or they'll let me go and they'll direct me, I'll say, awesome, man. How long have you lived here? I always do kind of the same approach, right? Being systematic is doing the same thing in every home as best of your ability, including the in-home, not just the phones, including the home. So, hey, man, how long have you lived here?
10 years. Awesome.
Where are you from?
I'm originally from Michigan.
Nice. Okay, what brought you out here?
Well, my wife, her family, they came over here on the Oregon Trail. So, we got this nice little farmhouse to start our marriage, and, we've been living here ever since.
Awesome, man. It's beautiful. Awesome. All right, cool. Can you go ahead and grab Katie? We'll go ahead and get started.
Yeah, I'll go grab her. She's in the back.
Awesome. So I'm taking control immediately by asking him, where the table is. So he's directing me, but then I'm taking control by saying, hey, go grab Katie so we can start.
So here's one that I struggled with in the beginning. TV's blaring in the background. I've done so many appointments where the TV's blaring in the background, and I heard a podcast where Sean and Andrew were talking about it, and Andrew's like, dude, I'm struggling with like this TV's on in the background, and Sean goes, just grab the remote and shut off the TV. He's like, what that does from a psychological perspective is they take control. We've got a guy on our team, Brody, and he had a situation where the guy had a loaded gun on the table, and Brody basically unloaded the gun and cleaned it and was like, okay, let's go ahead and get started. And it was one of the most badass stories I've ever heard, where he took control in the home and the guy was like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty ballsy.
It was very ballsy. It was one of the most ballsy stories I've ever heard, but it's
I like it.
You grab the remote, you turn off the TV. Hey, my thing for me, I was super non-confrontational. So I'd say, hey, Mary, I'm super ADD. If you don't turn off that TV right now, I'm never going to leave. Can you go ahead and mute that or turn it off for me? Then they go and they turn it off, and then we're back at the table, and now we're focused.
Dude, I just said, hey, Mary, can you just turn down the TV or turn it off? Okay. No,
yeah,
it's not a big deal. Okay, can you turn it off or turn it down? That way we can have a conversation. Yeah, everyone says yes.
So now we're sitting at the table. When you got two people at the table with you, how do you prefer? Is there any psychology to where you sit at the table?
Yeah, I do not want to sit across from them unless there's no other option, which typically is not the case, right? So if it's a husband and wife, I'm going to sit them side by side. So typically,
you kind of want to sit how we're sitting right now.
Right. So I wouldn't want Mary on this side or Katie and you apart from each other and me in the middle. I don't like that because I'm doing this whole deal, right?
You're doing the chicken neck back and forth. And then it's like when I kind of feel like when I am at the head of the table and they're on the side of the table and I'm not across from them, when I'm across from them, we're not on the same team.
It's opposing forces almost.
When I'm on the side of the table, I can put the paper in front of them And it's like, hey, we're working on this solution together.
Correct.
It's not me versus you. We're not on different line, on the side of the line in the sand. We're on the same side of this line, and I'm working with you to help solve this problem. I'm not here to convince you of anything. I'm here to help you.
Yeah. It's almost like putting your arm around them in a sense, kind of how you're doing it, right? Mm-hmm. So that's exactly it, right? You are consulting them, right? You're not selling them. You're helping and consulting and you're serving. And if you're sitting across the table, it's going to feel like a sale. If you're sitting on the side of them, consulting, educating, providing solutions to their problem, they're going to feel more comfortable and they're going to do what you want them to do, which is protect their family.
Yeah. So we're not going to dig a crazy amount into all of the, dozens of objections you're going to get potentially at the end, because what you find as a Hall of Fame producer is that, most Hall of Fame producers are very, very good at setting the table. By setting the table, you can avoid 90% of the objections. Even Hall of Fame producers get objections. We're not going to dig into every way to overcome an objection at the end of the sale, but setting the table, learning a very specific word track. It's not long. It's not some fancy presentation. One of the first things that I do when I sit down in the home is I throw my hands up and I say, hey, Mary, no fancy presentation. And I just see her shoulders just drop. She's like, oh, thank the Lord, there's no fancy presentation. And I just now reduced all the sales pressure. So for you, what are some things that you do? We're at the table. What do you have with you maybe? And what is the specific, basically paragraph that you memorize to start that appointment and set the table of what we're going to do today?
Yeah, so the first thing I always do is I pull out the lead card, right? I always want to know why I'm there, right? Mm-hmm. So the first thing I do is I sit down and I'm like, hey, Mary, obviously you filled out a request, or Jamie, you filled out a request for final expense coverage, right? This is what you sent into our office, so I make it real for them. Hey, this is what we got, right? This is why I'm here. So tell me a little bit about why you sent this in. I want to find out what's up.
I just wanted to make sure that there be no burdens or debts left behind if something happened to me.
Okay. So here, the point and the thing that Hall of Fame producers really do well here is not only get the why, but then they get curious. What does that mean? Okay. So Jamie, if something happened to you, who would be the person that'd pick up the pieces?
Well, obviously Katie.
Katie. Okay.
Or then our kids.
Or your kids. Okay. Now, were you concerned if something happened to you, they wouldn't be able to take care of final expenses, burial costs, or the home? Like what are you mostly concerned with?
Yeah, that's the idea. I just want to make sure that they don't have to worry about anything.
Okay, so you just want to make sure they're protected and you have peace of mind at night.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, Jamie, good news, man. First off, I'm not a sales guy. I'm actually just a medical underwriter. My job is to see if we can see if you're even eligible for anything. This is not something you can purchase. This is something you have to qualify for, okay? So my job is to help you find something that actually makes sense for you and your family to take care of everything you just mentioned, but also something that's affordable. Does that make sense, Jamie?
Yeah.
So that's what I do to let them know that, hey, I'm on their side. I'm wrapping my arms around them like, hey, I'm not here to sell you anything. Mm-hmm. And I use that as the transition because I've explained that they have to qualify, and then I'm explaining that I'm not here to sell them that. I'm here to help them with that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good. What's next?
So then next I will pull out my credibility sheet, right, and say, hey, so, because you do have to qualify, there's about 15 plus different companies that we work with. I don't work for any of those companies, Jamie and Katie, okay? I work for you, right? So I'm going to ask you some medical questions. My job is to ask you some medical questions, ask you some financial questions. Based on how you answer that, that's going to tell me what you're eligible for. Then I'll go ahead and find the best program specific to you, and my job then is to explain everything. I want to make sure you guys are crystal clear on how this is going to help you, and then I'm going to show you a few different options, okay? Once we find the best option to take care of your burial and final expense needs, then at that point, I'm going to go ahead and help you guys fill out an application to see if we can actually get you approved. I don't make any of these decisions, you guys. My job is to put you in the best position at the best price. The insurance companies are the ones that are going to make that decision. So that's going to give you time to think about it, because really the company is going to be the one thinking about it once we submit that application. Now, just as a reminder, you guys, there's no medical exams, okay? No one's going to come poke and prod at you. There's no blood or urine that you guys got to give. It's just simple e-application, electronic application. If you get approved, we'll find out in a few days, sometimes even today. If not, they'll send me back out and we'll look at another option. Does that make sense, you guys?
Yes.
That's it.
So what did you do there? You overcame shopping around. You overcame think about it. You overcame anything that had to do with the medical side of things. And you talked about, hey, we can't even purchase this today because you have to qualify. So you overcame think about it. So you touched on like the major, 3-4 objections. And of course, there's more objections that you can come across. But when you explain to somebody, here's what we're going to do today, and here's how this process works, and here's kind of our philosophy behind how we do this, do you agree to the process basically that we're about to move forward with? And when they say, yeah, that all makes sense, now it's like they've agreed to the process that we've just laid out, and you've basically trial closed them. And that's kind of, I think, a big thing that Hall of Fame producers are great at when it comes to the in-home is they're great at trial closing. So I'd love to kind of hear, the first trial close is you called them and they said, yes, you can come over. That's the first trial close. You got your first yes. If I get that first yes, I mean, unless I do something to screw it up, I should be able to help the family. Either they don't like me, I made it too complicated to understand, or I made it too expensive for them. And now when I get into the home, hey, and this is what the process looks like. Does that make sense? Yes. Second trial close. Actually, hey, can I kitchen table? Yes. Yeah. That's your second trial close. Third one, why'd you fill it out? Fourth one is going to be this process doesn't make sense. And then, now we start filling out the financial inventory. And this is a powerful, powerful place to get good at understanding what the financial inventory really is and how it works. The financial inventory is a place that you get to paint the picture of what their financial life will look like when somebody passes away. I kind of imagine myself as I'm the doctor and they're the patient, and they're telling me all of their symptoms, and then I'm going to give them their prognosis and the solution of what I recommend for them. So for you, how do you use the financial inventory to paint the picture of what's going to happen to, Bob and Mary or myself and Katie? What do you look for? And then how do you share that with the client?
Yeah. So, first off, we're asking all the questions on there. Don't skip questions, right? In the beginning, a lot of new agents, and myself included, when I started, I would skip questions, but the stuff that you skipped is usually going to be the stuff you need most.
Yeah.
So first off, I'm looking at financial situation, right? What's their income for each of them? If someone passes away, what does their income look like after someone passes away? What do their expenses look like? Specifically rent, mortgage, their housing situation. I'm looking at what type of insurance they have, right? I'm looking at the whole financial picture, right? My goal, Jamie, and I would think you would agree, is I want to understand if Jamie and Katie are here and one of them fall off, what's the financial impact?
Yeah, we're looking for, on a health perspective, what could they qualify for? We ask those health questions. And then on a financial perspective, what is it going to look like from a budget perspective? What do they have left over, so I know kind of what direction I'm going to go in regards to how much premium I'm going to show them?
Yeah.
And then we're looking at what's the income disparity going to be for either the surviving spouse, or in a situation where you're sitting with a single person. Okay, now you're sitting with a single person. I'm single now, and I've got a son. Yeah. And I am doing final expense, and I want to leave behind, money for burial. Well, what's your son's financial situation? Can your son just pull 10 grand out of his pocket to be able to take care of this? Well, yeah, my son's a doctor. Okay, does your son have kids? Yeah, he's got 4 kids. Okay, I understand your son's a doctor, but at the end of the day, 10 grand is still a huge hit for anybody. Do you really want to make him have to dig that out of his own pocket and pull potentially food off the table of his own kids to be able to take care of you when you have the opportunity to take care of this today? So it's just understanding, what is that financial situation going to look like of whoever the beneficiary is. The beneficiary is who we're trying to protect, and we're trying to use this financial inventory. I'll turn the financial inventory around. I'll put it in front of them. I'll circle numbers, and I'll say, hey, this right here, so you make $2,000 a month, Katie makes $1,000 a month. Okay, perfect. So if you pass away, Katie's going to retain the $2,000, but it's in Social Security. We're going to keep the greater of the two. We're going to lose the $1,000. So there's going to be a $1,000 income loss. Okay, now once rent is paid on this house, now there's $1,000 left over. You guys got utilities and a car payment. So now she's got $400 left over, and she's supposed to use that $400 a month to bury you. Yeah. You see why something like this would be valuable, right?
There you go.
Another trial close.
Yep. And the goal there, guys, is you're putting yourself in their shoes. Right? So you're doing two things, right? What Jamie just said was he put himself in their shoes, but he understood the picture, but he regurgitated it to them. So that way, to make sure they see it and they agree.
Yeah.
Right? That's what you did.
Yeah.
And so you have to, you're basically finding the problem, right? That's what we're doing in the financial inventory. The financial inventory is finding the problem between financial, immediate income or immediate expenses to cover, 2, income disparity, like you said, or 3, health, right? But but you're finding the problem between that. And then once you have identified the problem, what I always like to say is, okay, now I see why I'm here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's why I'm here.
Yeah. Oh, now I'm okay. I like, yeah. So you could say, oh, now, however you word it, I say, oh, now I see why I'm here.
Yep. And they're like, yes, exactly. And it's like trial close again.
Yep.
The goal is how many times can I get them to say yes throughout that presentation? Correct. How many times can I get them to see the value? So it's like now I haven't pitched any specific options at this point. I've said, here's the problem, guys. And you understand like why something like life insurance would be valuable to solve this problem, right? Yes, I've just pitched them the concept of life insurance, not, hey, you see why an American Eagle will be, great here? You see why this, $200 a month premium is great here? No, it's you see why the concept of this insurance would solve your problem, right?
Yeah.
Yes. All right, now let's look at a couple options.
Yeah. So we're not selling products.
Yeah.
We're selling solutions.
Yeah.
Right? That's the key. That's what we're doing here going back to the doctor-patient thing, right? We are the doctor. We asked all these questions to figure out what's going on, and then now we're going to provide a prescription or a solution to their problem, right? So,
any final things that you do in the home before we get into this Q&A? Things that you maybe do at the end of the appointment, either to show them options, or anything that you do to tie down the appointment once you've made the sale? Any final things you want to share about the in-home?
Yeah, I think the last thing that I do, man, is after I figure out what's going on, I truly want to come off as a consultant, right? I want to come off as someone that's on their side. And so if they're eligible potentially for a few different programs, I'm going to explain all the programs and allow them to make a decision. I'm going to consult them and I'll give them the pros and cons of each one. But I want to make sure that they have an explanation and they understand and they feel like they're in the driver's seat, even though I'm kind of guiding them.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, Hall of Fame producers, they're masters at what's called, lead, guide, direct.
Yeah.
And I'm going to lead you. I'm going to guide you. I'm going to direct you in the home. I'm going to share what I best recommend for you.
Yeah.
It's totally up to you guys what decision you guys want to make, what direction you want to go. But I'm the expert with insurance. One thing that I always did, and I always still continue to do, is I find something that they're an expert at. So like, how long y'all been married? 44 years. Awesome. Well, hey, I've only been married 3 years. How do y'all stay married that long? They're an expert at that. Yeah. Hey, you're raising a kid. Hey, you got all this hunting stuff on the wall. Like whatever. I find the thing they're an expert in. So they respect me in the thing that I'm an expert in, which is insurance. I try to build them up a little bit in some way, shape, or form when I'm filling out an application, just so they take me that much more seriously.
Yeah.
Is that something you've ever done?
At times where when I feel it out. So when I'm in the home, I'm a little intuitive. Like I can feel people out. It's a little harder virtually,
yeah.
But in person, I can feel it. I can sense it, that the way they talk, the way they're moving, the way they're keeping their arms crossed, like all that stuff, I can see it. And so when I need to, yeah, without a doubt, I do that.
I love it, man. Well, that's powerful. So let's jump into a couple of questions we have from agents. So how have you juggled building agency and selling at the same time, kind of trying to do both at a high level? Because, we talk about how there's two different muscles in this business. There's the selling muscle and the building muscle. And a lot of the times, we flex one muscle at a time. It's definitely a new skill to flex both at the same time. It's like the whole rubbing your belly and tapping your head at the same time. It's tough to do.
I can't do it.
Yeah. So how do you flex both agency building and selling at the same time?
You got to be really good at time management.
Yeah.
And I say that because I sucked, right? When I had my dial or my run days, and I was trying to build, I wasn't building because it was a run day and not a run and build day. And so when I say that is, I'd have my 7-8 appointments on the day. I'd have drive time. I'd have time where clients no-showed or rescheduled, whatever, right? I had gaps in my day that I was not maximizing. So on my run days, what I changed was I started calling agents in between my appointments. Yeah. And so now, instead of listening to music and getting all pumped up and jacked or thinking about what I did wrong about the last appointment, I'm focused on, okay, who can I help? Who can I talk to? Who can I introduce to family first life? Who needs an opportunity? And that's what switches everything for me, or switched everything for me. So if you're trying to sell and build, you just have to be very focused, and you have to be disciplined, just like you are on your dial day, dude, right? Like there's no difference. It's when you're running or when you're, in between appointments, you got to make sure you're reaching out to people. That's what worked for me. And that's what you have to continue to do day in, day out. And I learned that from Grady, because Grady's the one who told me, he's like, dude, you're trying to do it all on your dial days, but it's not working. So you want to make sure that you're using your run days in between to build your agency at the same time. And then, when you're talking to agents and you just helped a family and you just, you help 2 families, 3 families, whatever, and you share those stories, the prospect gets excited. They're like, wait, what did you just do? Tell me about that.
I helped 5 families before noon.
Yeah. Like, hold on, what? How do you do that? Right. And now you're also talking from experience, you get more credibility, and you become more exciting, right? The person listening is like, man, I can learn from this dude. And so they also are more interested and excited to join.
I love it. Another question we have from an agent is, what do you look for in a new agent? So I kind of want to take even a further spin on it. If you were looking for a new agent that you thought could have the potential to drive down the road on the road to Hall of Fame, what would you be looking for? What type of person do you feel like? Because we talk about how anybody can do this, but not everyone will do this. What's the type of person you're looking for?
So the type of person that I'm looking for someone that is hungry. I'm looking for someone that's really looking to make a difference, right? Not someone that just talks about it. Yeah. Someone that's actually looking to make a difference and understanding, just like with clients, I'm trying to understand that person's why. Why are you, Jamie, trying to do this? What is this going to do for you and your family, right? And understand that how can we impact that person's life just like we can impact the client's life, right? So I want to see what their hunger level is. I want to see if I paint the picture of this isn't easy, because it's not easy. It's going to be hard work. Yeah. It's a simple business, but it's hard work. It's not easy to hit Hall of Fame. Would you agree?
It's not easy.
It's freaking hard.
Yeah.
But I say that it's hard work. It's not hard. It's hard mentally, because you got to go through some challenges, but anyone can do it. But are you willing to do what it takes, right? Yeah. So it's this fine dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, it's not shingling roofs in 110-degree weather.
No.
It's not digging ditches. It's none of that. I'm riding around in an air-conditioned car, going to 8 appointments on a day. I'm sitting in my desk for 8 hours dialing. Yeah. I'm sitting in my desk for 12 hours doing telesale appointments. It's not physically hard. I mean, yeah, I get tired a lot because it's a little physically demanding and long days, but the skill set is so worth it.
And we choose our hard. Right? We choose our hard. This is a different type of hard, and it's a different type of reward. But, kind of going back to your question, man, it's the type of person that can take rejection, not without getting personally, emotionally involved.
Yeah.
The type of person that doesn't quit, the type of person that's disciplined, right? So it's like, so I try to get to know them a little bit. What are they about? What's their career or their experience been? Ask them some questions like, hey, Jamie, if I could, let me ask you a question, man. If every week you had to make 1,500 calls in a week, of those calls, you'd book some appointments, you'd get hung up a bunch. You'd schedule some appointments. Some appointments would cancel on you. Some appointments might reschedule on you. You might actually help some families and sell some insurance. Then some clients might actually cancel their policies. And you do this every week for a month, right? And sometimes you're going to get kicked in the teeth. You might help 4, 5, 6 families in a week. Some might stick, some might fall off. But at the end of the month, if you help 20 families, are you willing to put in that kind of work, take that kind of rejection to get that kind of outcome?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any concerns or hesitation about that?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about that. Right. So now I want to know.
Yeah. I mean, I've never bought leads before. I've never invested into a business. I'm just a little bit afraid to put the money in.
I totally get it, man. I was the same way when I started. Is it that you doubt yourself and your ability to perform, or are you just unsure if this is the right?
I doubt myself.
You doubt yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you this, man. What is something that you like to do?
I like to play sports when I grew up.
Cool. What did you play, man?
I played football. I wrestled. I played baseball.
Okay. Which is your favorite of the 3?
Wrestling for sure.
Wrestling. Okay. When you started, did you doubt yourself?
Every day.
Every day. What changed?
I guess I did it for a long enough time and I got better.
Okay. Okay. Do you think if you do this for a long enough time that you can get better, even though you doubt yourself when you start?
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Okay. So do you see how what you did there can apply to here, and it's all just a matter of repetition and discipline?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, man.
Okay, cool. So do you think this is something you're willing to bet on yourself just like you did in wrestling?
Yeah.
So what did I do? I'm trying to do kind of like what we do in a home, right? I'm painting a picture, asking some questions, and I'm curious to see if they're going to fold or if they're mentally like, you know what, this is not for me.
Yeah, and if they fold, hey, man, sorry, I don't think this is going to be a good fit for you.
Yeah, and no harm, no foul. Hey, Jamie, man, nice to meet you. Great talk to you. Hey, wish you best of luck in what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Last question. We keep on talking about this road to Hall of Fame. So point A to point B. Point A, I'm just getting started. Point B, 400 families in a year. It's a long road with a lot of twists and turns. What's your final advice to someone who says, I'm going to make it to this destination no matter what, no matter how many times I have to pull off and change a tire, no matter how many times I got to change the oil, no matter how many times that I got to get in a brand new vehicle or get on a bike or walk or crawl, whatever it takes, I'm going to make it to the end of this road. What's your final piece of advice for them?
I would say, well, first you got to decide. You have to have a conviction about your decision. You were convicted. I was convicted, right? So you got to, number one, make a decision. Number two, I think you got to break it down.
Yeah.
We are in March. I'm assuming this will air in March. We're in March. Where are you at year to date?
Yep.
And what is the number that you need to hit per month in terms of helping families to get to your goal? Yeah. Okay. Break it down per month. I'd break it down per week. Then all we're doing is we're reverse engineering everything we got to do here, right? Because if you just look at the big picture, it could be overwhelming. But if you break it down into goals monthly and weekly, and when I say goals, not just how many families are you helping, but also what does your activity level need to be in terms of how many dials, how many appointments per week, and what is my lead strategy and purchases going to look like? So you're literally breaking it down.
I think that's so important because the results can be up and down.
Yes.
But the activity stays the same. We talk about the field owes me.
Mm-hmm.
I can do the activity and I can get crushed from a results perspective. And then the next week, I do twice as much productivity in 1 week than I do if I were to break it down to I have to help 7 families a week, 8 families a week, whatever that is. Well, maybe last week I helped 0, and this week I helped 20 families.
Yeah.
You know, and we talk about the field owes you, and it all balances out because this business, you have to understand the law of large numbers. The law of large numbers say when I do something often enough, a ratio appears, and eventually when I zoom out and I look at my business on a monthly basis, the numbers all make sense. When I look at it on a daily ROI, maybe sometimes I get a little bit overwhelmed. I'm like, am I really on track after today? Oh, I'm behind because I had a bad day. I'm behind because I had a bad week. And then week 2, 3, 4 come around and, oh, I'm back on track.
Yeah.
Or I had a bad month, but then I have an amazing month that's twice as good as last month, and now I'm back on track again.
Yeah. That's what happens. That's the roller coaster of this business, right? And so you break it down, understand what you have to do from an activity standpoint. The activity will lead you to the result. I think the next thing is you got to track. You have to have tracking in place because from my perspective, Jamie, when I didn't track stuff, I got emotional.
Yeah.
I don't know if you felt that, but I did.
You got to know the score.
Yeah. And I said this to an agent recently. She goes to me, she's like, I feel like I'm not getting ahead. I feel like this. I feel like this. I go, what does your data say? I'm like, you're talking about your feelings. I'm like, you know who talks about their feelings in business? People that are playing business. I'm like, do you want to play business or do you want to be in business? And she goes, ooh, that was deep. And I'm like, well, okay. Well, if you want to be in business and you want to act like a business owner, business owners don't make decisions off of feelings. They make decisions off of data and information. What's your data information say? Are you tracking it per week? Do you know how many dials, appointments, closes, sits? You know, do you know your numbers? Like you said, right? The ratio will appear. And when I did that, dude, everything opened up. And then the only other thing that I did is I set a minimum goal every week for myself. So my minimum, we call it a do goal. I learned this from a previous mentor. So I have a weekly do goal, or I think you may have heard it as a blood number. People refer to it as different things, whatever.
My drop dead number.
Drop dead goal, right? Your drop dead weekly goal, 7 families a week. Okay. But my champ goal of what I need to hit that week is 10 families. If I'm hitting 10 families in a week, boom, I'm on track, right? Like I had a great week. If I hit 7, I'm still good. I could have done better. What could I have done better? But that was my barometer of going from not being a Hall of Fame producer to being a Hall of Fame producer was breaking down the goal, tracking everything, and then understanding this is my minimum goal. This is my champ goal.
I love it, man. Dude, I appreciate you so much. I know that our agents are really going to appreciate this episode. And guys, tune in next week. We will be having another Hall of Fame producer. Excited to have the next one on. And thank you so much, Julius. Appreciate you, man.
Hey, bro. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.